Hi, I'm going to wax a watercolor to show you how simple it really is. So I'm going to go to an overhead camera so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I've got this watercolor that I have here, and I'm going to wax it with Dorland's wax medium. You can get this at Studio 6 or any art supply store that you can find, and it works quite well. It's a hard medium. So I'm going to open it up, and it's like a paste wax. I'm using some wonderful cheesecloth here, and I'm using cheesecloth because it doesn't have any lint. And I like to use gloves because even though it's a lot less toxic than uh, paint-on varnishes or spray varnishes, I just like to protect myself just in case. So I fold on, I've cut this, and it has some little fibers here. So I fold those fibers in, and then I scoop it out. So this is like, remember when you used to wax floors ages ago? Some of you might remember. So I just scoop up some wax, and then I start at one corner, and I do little circles and move it around and just wax it. This protects the watercolor from moisture, and you can put one or two coats on. I usually put two on just to make sure I cover every little hole or groove in the watercolor paper. This is actually the second coat. I put one on already, and I am going to. The second coat is a little easier to put on because it's got a smoother surface to go on. But the first coat, when you put it on, it's easier to see where you have wax because you can see that there's a difference in the color or the texture as you're waxing it. So I want to make sure that I get all the space. So I'm doing this in a pattern now so I can see where I have done. So I'm going to go down and up and just around. This is a fairly large picture. It's about 14 by 20. So on a smaller picture, it would be easier. You want to put a very thin coat of wax. You don't want it to be too thick because it'll take longer to dry and won't be as smooth. It's better to put two thin coats on than one thick coat. It takes about 24 hours to dry before you put the second coat on, and it takes a couple days to actually cure to be as hard as it's going to be. Once it's cured, you can buff it with a bit of soft cloth like flannel or t-shirt material to give it a little bit of sheen if that's what you want. So you can do circles, you can go back and forth. The circles are good for especially the first layer because it gets it into all the little texture of the watercolor paper. And this watercolor paper here is cold press, so it has some holes in it. If you were to use rough, you would have to really go at it with circles and try and get it in between in the fibers of the watercolor paper. It's not difficult to do at all. You just have to, keep the pattern so you know where you've done. In this particular watercolor, I have mounted on a board. So I have mounted it on, let's see if I can show you this, on a board that I got at Studio 6. And I use, to mount it, I use this extra heavy gel gloss as a glue, and I put it on the paper and then put my board in the middle of it, leaving a little extra on the outside so that I have something to trim. And once I trim it, I wait till it dries before I trim it. And once I glue it to the paper, I put a piece of paper over it. In this case, I put a watercolor block, the same size or a little bigger, on top of it, and some heavy books to let it dry completely before I try trimming the edges. The waxing part is the easy part. Putting it on the board is tricky. It's not difficult, it's just time consuming because you have to wait in between while the glue dries. I do find that the extra heavy gel gloss medium works quite nicely though for gluing. You could use glue. I know some people do use glue, and that seems to work fine. This, because it's acrylic, I know that it's water resistant, so that works pretty well. So I'm coming to the end right now. Now, this will not disturb the watercolor because it has no water in it. So you can use this for watercolor. You can use it for, you wouldn't use it for acrylic because you don't need to. But this has pen and ink on it as well, so you can use it for pen and ink. I've tried it with graphite, with pencil. That doesn't work so well. But with the watercolor, it works nicely. And now I don't have to use glass. I can frame this if I want or not, because I have painted the sides with black acrylic paint. So it can be just hung just like this. So that is it for the actual waxing. Very simple. It's making sure I'm going to go around the edges because the edge of the watercolor paper, I want to make sure it's waxed. Sometimes I paint the edges, but in this case I painted the board first so the edges didn't get painted. So I'm going to wax it to seal it. So now you can put it in a bathroom or a kitchen and you don't have to worry about the moisture. Or you can put it anywhere you want, of course. So that's all it is to waxing. It's a very, very simple thing to do, and it's easy. So I leave it for 24 hours and then I buff it and I am done. So I hope this helps you to be a little braver about trying to wax your watercolors. It's easy, it's fun, and you don't have to use glass, or in this case, I don't even need to use a frame unless I want to. Okay, hope you enjoyed.